All right, I mean, if you want to talk about Elon, this has gotten put off for a while because I had to make sure it wasn't copyright. The entire Don Lemon Elon Musk interview, I took a look at some of it to try to get a feel for how bad it was. And the main issue is that Elon is really stupid and boring. He's not like Donald Trump, who's just effortlessly entertaining. Like, Elon isn't fun to watch at all. The only reason anyone would enjoy watching Elon in any context is to watch him suffer and to take pleasure from it, which is fine and good, morally good. Some clips have been making the rounds, sort of the distilled bits here. You know, there's this, and there have been a few posted by Aaron Rupar, but I really, really, really like this one. Elon realizing this is the first time he's ever spoken to a black person who knows he's a racist. Oh yeah, it says right here. The first time he's spoken to a black person whose job wasn't dependent on them being nice to him.
Do you have any desire to understand what...
Oh, I should say, for those who don't know, I'm surprised if anyone doesn't have the context at this point, but Don Lemon, CNN's relatively mediocre host, retired and wants to do his own show. He was going to do a show that was like backed by Elon Musk, exclusive on Twitter. But, you know, kind of the way that Tucker Carlson, for a brief period of time, was relevant on Twitter, but now he isn't again because Twitter is actually a terrible place to host content. And isn't it cool that Twitter is set up in such a way that you can make like a really well-produced show, put an episode of it on Twitter, all the ads on it are like ad buys from drop shipping bots, and then you tweet out a couple of things and your video that you worked really hard on just falls down the list of stuff in your feed because it's just one single page of all your shit on it, you know? I love getting in a conversation with someone over tweets and burying my hard work, you know, deep into the it's a very well-designed site for content curation, I'll say. All right. Anyway, the first episode of The Don Lemon Show would be an interview with Elon, and Elon got so ass mad after this interview he dropped support.
Many people of color and even trans people, how they feel about this country and how they're treated in this country. If they say and they believe that they are treated a certain way in this country, why don't you believe them?
You cannot have a situation where someone is a self-described victim and they just get to be that because that's how they feel.
I think that does happen in some cases, but not all cases. And I think that not understanding the history of the country, I think, is a real shame. Look, I've had
and other countries.
I've had incredible opportunities as a person of color.
Right.
But I've also been
very well.
But I've also been discriminated against, and I know that I have. And I know that that's real. And for someone to say that that isn't happening, I should just move forward and not think about that and ignore the past, is insulting.
So this is a big issue ultimately with the Republican line, okay? And it's one of the reasons why they've had so much difficulty in having a kind of like broadly accepted narrative for everyone to get behind. Usually the way, like the textbook way of uniting a bunch of different groups of people, majority or minority, under one like reactionary political body is through nationalism. Because the argument is, you know, whether you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever else, like, as long as you're American, we can all do this together. This was the attitude that a lot of, like, conservative groups historically has taken. This was more common in, like, the Bush or, like, Reagan-type neoconservative presidencies, where, don't get me wrong, Reagan was extremely racist, but the outward-facing rhetoric of the GOP in the Reagan era was at least a pretense of that. It was, like, an effort to mask the more reactionary politics by unifying it together. But that doesn't work anymore for the GOP because the GOP is kind of like openly white nationalist, you know? Elon Musk engages with and reposts Nazi propaganda on his feed, you know? He agrees with Nazis posting like racial IQ graphs, as we saw. So you lose the ability to do that like grand unifying narrative when you start splitting hairs along those lines. And now you don't really have a good answer except to just embrace racism, which isn't a great look in an interview, not even to a lot of Republican voters. Like I said in my video, The Truth About Republican Voters, or whatever the editors titled it, you know, the one that came out like, I don't know, a week ago or something. No matter how bad things may seem, just remember that most Republican voters are completely delusional as to how bad the things they support actually are. A lot of racists don't think they're racists. A lot of sexists don't think they're sexist. That kind of stuff.
I'm not saying it. Don, you keep putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying it's
I didn't say that you said it.
I'm saying that we want to. We as a country should move beyond questions of race and gender, and we should treat people like individuals and base our opinions on them on the you know, uh, their character and their skills.
I guess I'll take the time to talk about this, saying we need to move beyond race and gender. Okay, first of all, move beyond gender. Do you want to abolish gender, Elon? What do you mean move beyond race and gender? Do you want to say that race doesn't exist at all? Because if that's the case, why are you agreeing with people posting racial IQ graphs? Hey, listen, if you're going the radical route on this, go for it, you know? What they mean, move past race and gender, what they actually mean is don't talk about it. We should focus on people as individuals. But that doesn't necessarily follow. You can focus on people as individuals while still talking about broader social stuff. That would be like saying, I don't want to talk about Americans or America. I want to focus on the individual. To which the obvious answer would be, from anyone, from Elon even, well, you can be an individual and an American and black. You can be an individual and a woman, or gay, or whatever else. Those two things don't cancel out. It's always been weird to me. One of the main arguments the right has used against the left is that the left is collectivist and doesn't think of people as individuals, but nothing could be further from the truth. In reality, individual liberation has always been predicated on the ability for you to not be persecuted based on your group identity, and there's no way to do that without addressing that pre-existing bias. It's conservatives instead who try to force everyone in line under shared, groups or icons, to the point now where, to the right wing, being trans makes you a groomer. If you're a teacher or whatever, being gay makes you a groomer. They are very, very willing to make group characteristics a thing and a part of their policy. If you're an illegal immigrant, you're dangerous. They have no respect at all for any kind of individual probabilistic sociological analysis. All they care about is, what suits their agenda, really. Yeah, reactionaries love the collective.
I don't think that anyone will disagree with that.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is that that's not happening and is not equal for everyone.
Being a conservative makes you a pedophile. Well, that's true.
That those opportunities don't happen for everyone. And I am a living example that they don't. I know that they don't because I live it.
You've been incredibly successful.
I have been, and in spite of it all.
See, look, Elon literally can't understand it. Don Lemon is saying correctly, I have been very successful as a black man, but I've faced a lot of persecution as a black man. And Elon blusters and says, you've been very successful. Elon literally can't comprehend the idea of a person succeeding in spite of racially based adversity. He actually can't understand it. Rare Lemon W. Oh, I don't like Don Lemon, but compared to Elon Musk, he might as well be he might as well be Gandhi. It's the comparison here is insane.
You've been incredibly successful.
I have been, and in spite of it all. But I know what I know. I've experienced what I've experienced. You haven't done that, and I cannot. I don't know what it's like to be from South Africa.
It's a comparison between a black American and your experience growing up as a white South African.
Know what it's like to be a white man. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I don't know what it's like to be a Latino person. I don't know that, so I wouldn't speak for them and just say.
So, okay, Elon agreed with this when actually I disagree with what Don Lemon is saying here. I think that there's a pretty big difference between understanding a person's lived experience and being able to intellectualize what it might be like to be another person, Empathy isn't the best determining factor in whether or not you have a good ethical system. You can be empathetic and very bigoted. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. But, I think that you can make an effort to understand. The problem is that making that effort involves a lot of self-checking, right? It involves a lot of introspection because you have to make sure you're not pulling bias into the equation. And that's always what people fall into, right? For example, a lot of well-off white people make the mistake of thinking, oh, okay, I'm not black. But if I was, say, for example, this black kid who grew up in the inner city, I would just do what I did growing up to succeed. I would study hard and work really hard in my classes, and I would get an extra job in school when I hit 16 so that I could work and save up some money. And then, when I graduate, my parents will give me a loan and I can use that to go to college without incurring student debt and da-da-da. And they project their own life experience onto other people. And then because in their mind, they would have succeeded, they assume the other person's lack of success is a product of them being just worse, making worse decisions, not being as smart, whatever else. That's the myth of meritocracy for you. If you believe that everyone really does get the same shot in life, that means people who aren't doing as well as you are just, worse.
You need to move on. That's not for me to say. I believe that it would be great if the country could live up to that ideal.
I like these clips quite a lot. This isn't even close to the stupidest one, by the way. I wonder what these people's answer to the veil of ignorance would be. I don't think that Elon Musk could understand the veil of ignorance as a concept.
And speaking of MAGA, you recently met with Donald Trump in Florida. What
Aaron
did you
Rupar, what is this recording quality you've done here? My goodness.
guys talk about?
I was at a dinner. I was not done. I was at a breakfast at a friend's place.
Oh, this is when Elon Musk said, like, yeah, I met with Donald Trump right when he was trying to fundraise to pay off his $500 million bond. And he just, I just happened to see him, no plans whatsoever,
And Donald Trump came by. That's it.
So you didn't go there to meet him?
No, I went to a friend of mine's house and it said Donald Trump's coming by for breakfast. Is that just so you know, like, okay, fine.
What'd you discuss?
I don't. Let's just say he did most of the talking.
What
Just
did,
in the normal things he says. There was nothing particularly ground.
Can you imagine, like, genuinely, can you imagine how cooked you would have to be to look at this guy and think that he's smart? It's not just that he is autistic, by the way. That's the only explanation for his behavior. And he also has some kind of, like, nervous stutter, but he also just talks dumb. He just doesn't, none of this comes through, Like, there are people who are really bad in public when it comes to speaking, but then they type out and write really eloquent stuff. Have you seen him tweet?
Breaking on you, but he, President Trump likes to talk, and so he talked. I don't recall him saying anything that he hasn't said publicly, and that was it. It was just a breakfast.
did he ask you for money?
He didn't.
Did he ask you for a donation?
No.
They think he's a socially inept genius like we view Zizek. Yeah, but Zizek is clearly smart. You listen to him talk. Zizek isn't exactly the most charismatic person in a classical sense, but you put him in his element. The man can belt out like banger after banger after banger. What has Elon Musk ever said that was memorable? I'm asking, like, in the entire time that Elon Musk has been thought of as the super wealthy, famous genius, Tony Stark, whatever, are there any lines, any quotes? Anything that concerning? Like, all I know him for is the stupid shit that he tweets over and over like an NPC. I don't remember him having said anything. Like, there are things Biden has said. Lots of things. How many genders are there? At least 3. Like, them, right off the cuff. Like, banger line, Takes charisma to deliver something that funny, even if it's unintentional. Though I think it was intentional with him. What has Elon said? Yeah, he stammered out, go yourself once because his incompetent management of the site was losing him money and the advertisers didn't want to have their stuff next to anti-Semitic posts. That was it. Go yourself. That's it. Let that sink in.
He didn't.
No.
You said you're not going to donate to any candidate.
That's correct.
Why not?
I think
Jesus.
well, I'll voice my opinion.
Stuff like that, dude. Oh my God.
I think I don't want to put a thumb on the scale monetarily. That is, significant.
Are you going to loan him money to help?
Like, that pause was for him to say, like, to answer the question, why won't you contribute to either candidate in this race? That's not like a difficult conceptual question. I'm going to focus a lot on this as we go over these clips because I genuinely think that, like, it's almost impossible to cover Elon or understand how he is without drawing constant attention to him just being genuinely quite stupid. Just being kind of empty up here,
Pay his bills?
No,
Not at all. Pay his legal bills.
I'm not paying his legal bills in any way, shape, or form.
And he did not ask you for money.
And he did not ask me for money.
Are you going to? So you're not going to endorse a candidate?
I believe him.
I may, in the final stretch, endorse a candidate, but I don't know yet. I want to make a considered decision before the election, and if I do decide to endorse a candidate, then I will explain exactly why.
Are you leaning towards anyone?
No.
You're not leaning towards anyone because you've been.
What was that
I'm
noise?
leaning away from Biden.
You're leaning.
I've made no secret of that.
I mean, the candidate that Elon Musk wanted to win was Ron DeSantis. Remember Ron DeSantis announcing his candidacy on Twitter, and it got held up for 30 minutes because they were using it as a debut of their, like, big group voice thing. And by debut, I mean it existed beforehand, but it got broken when Elon took over the site, and then it took 30 minutes, and it broke, and it didn't sound right, and there was an echo. That was the opening of DeSantis's campaign. Didn't Musk also endorse Vivek? Yes, like 1 day before Vivek dropped out. I remember.
This is something worth people.
Do you understand the connection between the two? There's a connection between, you said Democrats, the Great Replacement Theory, but when it comes to the actual Great Replacement Theory, originally it was started.
Do you think it has something to do with drug use? I don't know that much about ketamine. I don't know if like significant long-term ketamine use leads to mental degradation. I mean, all drugs taken in excess will probably lead to some kind, but I don't know. I don't know to what extent that's the case with ketamine.
There's a connection between, you said Democrats, the Great Replacement Theory, but when it comes to the actual Great Replacement Theory, originally it was started about Jewish people, as you said, flooding in the country, and then now people are using it for Democrats, saying the same thing about Democrats, flooding.
In my view, it's a simple matter of incentive.
Yeah.
I actually don't see an incentive for Jewish people to want to have get legal immigration. I don't think there is such an incentive.
The Great Replacement Theory is a neo-Nazi trope. It's in the neo-Nazi manifesto. It's in the Turner Diaries. It's referenced by the Buffalo mass shooter in his manifesto, where 10 people, black people, were murdered in Buffalo. There's the actual title of the Christchurch shooters manifesto. 51 people in the Muslim mosque were murdered. 23 people murdered in El Paso by a shooter who used the same language that you use in that manifesto when you say Hispanic invasion. Is that not?
I didn't say an Hispanic invasion.
It's worth noting, by the way, that if I remember correctly, Elon has multiple times engaged with people saying openly Great Replacement Theory stuff. Like, it's not even remotely ambiguous, and it's not just he said exclamation point in response to somebody hinting at it. He's just openly engaged with and agreed with people saying it. I don't remember every time this has happened, because his engagement is usually just him saying concerning in response to somebody talking about, like, Jewish overrepresentation in media, but, you know.
You quoted a tweet that said that
he's endorsed it himself here. Elon Musk all but endorses the Great Replacement conspiracy theory. Almost no one seems to be aware of the immense size and lightning growth of this issue, the issue being illegal immigrants versus American births. According to the mayors, it is already overwhelming essential services in New York, Chicago, and other cities. He's done more. He said more than that. This is not the worst thing I remember him saying on the subject. I remember him saying something quite a bit worse. Well, it's out there. You have said the actual truth. His literal pinned tweet right now endorsing a Great Replacement video.
Borders plan to entrench single-party rule, explained in under 2 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I guess his pinned tweet on his Twitter page right now at this exact moment is the Great Replacement Theory. That's pretty direct. The Democrats are flooding the country with illegal immigrants in order to displace the local demographics and entrench Democrat control. That's the Great Replacement.
The Democrat open borders plan to entrench single-party rule, explained in under 2 minutes. 1. Flood the country with untold millions of illegals by land, sea, and air from all over the world. Enough to eclipse the populations of 36 individual U.S. states so far. 2. Prioritize the needs of these millions of non-citizens over the needs of the American citizen.
I don't have to debunk this, right? This is obviously like the fever dream of a deranged conspiracy theorist racist. I don't need to waste time going into like all of this. Yeah, man, that's totally true. America is giving illegal immigrants free flights, buses, hotels, meals, and phones. That's extreme. That's so true.
With free flights, buses, hotels, meals, and phones, ensuring their loyalty.
I mean, I do think they should be given free meals, and free phones are probably a good idea. If oh, I know what they're talking about with phones. The free phones are because there have been migrants who made court dates, and they were given phones because the phones would help them keep track. It's literally the Obama phone thing all over again.
To the political party that imported them. 3. Keep them in the country at all costs, even when they commit violent crime like murder and rape.
Biden has turned away an absolute enormous ton of migrants. I don't know why he'd be doing that if his goal was to keep in as many people as possible. Also, is that true? We love keeping in illegal immigrants who do murders and rapes?
Attack the language used to describe the criminals, as opposed to the criminals themselves. Slander critics as racist.
Sure.
4. Ensure their privileges are made irrevocable with city and state sanctuary laws that act as population magnets. Codify permanent status and ensure non-cooperation with ICE.
Okay.
5. Count the non-citizens in the census that will determine congressional apportionment in the House of Representatives. As of now, that would equal 13 extra congressional districts. A tremendous amount of electoral power.
Yep, that is how it works. The number of people that are in a state determines the the proportion of representatives. That is how that works.
6. Wage a massive, heavily funded lawfare campaign to change state voting laws that legalize mass mail-in ballots, no signature verification, and no proof of citizenship requirements.
When you mail in a vote, the vote gets checked against the registry of eligible voters. It's not like a post-it note that you scribble Biden on and put it in. What do you mean proof of citizenship? What does that mean? When you send in the vote, it gets checked against the registry of eligible voters. They don't check you. If you go vote in person, they don't. Okay. They think you just send 500 postcard votes. They do. They literally do think that. Yes, they do believe that.
Making it nearly impossible to prove voter fraud.
How would it gets checked against the registry? Literally millions of dollars have been spent by Republicans trying to prove that voter fraud is a problem, and they keep coming up empty over and over again. How do these people remember to breathe? I don't know.
7. Lock in the permanent voting majority with campaign promises of lavish benefits and permanent privileges.
Even if everything they were saying was correct, like even if every single thing they were saying here was accurate, which it's not even remotely, it sounds like the big conspiracy theory is, what if Democrats seditiously took control of the country by having more people vote for them, and the way they get more people to vote for them is by doing policies that are popular with the majority of the population, okay? Like that is, even if everything here was true, it sounds like the strategy here is they do politics. Also, if they say they're just faking votes, why do they need to import millions of illegals if they're going to forge the votes anyway? That's a great question, Son of Ra. Why would they go through all the trouble of importing millions and millions and millions of undocumented immigrants if they could just have teams of Mexicans already in LA filling out Biden post-it notes where you scribble Biden and then a big check mark, billions of them, and just flood, like, why not just do that?
Enshrining generational fealty to the Democrat Party.
It's called voting for the people who represent your interests. It's how politics work. That's how it is.
8. Win elections.
Democrats' sinister plan to take control of America. Make people like them, comma, have people vote for them, comma, get voted in. Those sneaky Democrats with that classic get elected by people voting for you tactic. No one ever expects it. Those sneaky, I hate it.
9. Entrenched single-party rule has been achieved.
I guess what you could do as Republicans would be to propose policies and do things that make people vote for you, possibly.
The best part? Your tax dollars are paying for it.
Yeah, okay. So this is the great replacement theory. Definitionally, no room for argument. So when I said, it's going to take such and such length of time for us to find evidence of Elon Musk supporting the great replacement theory, I know it's out there. I didn't think you could go to the pinned propaganda video at the top of his page. Like, I didn't think that it would be that easy. Taking a look at the guy who made this, Western Lensman. He's got pretty much the kind of vibe that you would expect over here. It's all great replacement stuff. The deep state is preparing for war. Do you think Elon has enough money that if he wanted, he could sway the election? Probably, yeah. But it's complicated, From Bill Ackman, the greatest mind of our time. I find this credible. This guy's also obsessed with the bloodbath thing. Bill Ackman is a crackman. That is true, thank you. It's also funny because the last time seats were redistributed, the GOP gained and the Dems lost, so the replacement strategy isn't working. Well, I wonder if there might be something a little bit unreliable about that video we just watched, I don't know. Oh yeah, for the most obvious example of Elon Musk supporting the great replacement theory, you have somebody saying, Jewish communities have been pushing this kind of dialectical hatred against whites. Western Jewish populations coming to the realization those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country don't exactly like them too much. You want truth said to your face, there it is. And Elon Musk responded, you have said the actual truth. So that was pretty straightforward. This was what led to this led to another like gigantic advertiser departure from Twitter. This was the thing that led to Elon Musk saying that you can go f yourself in response to that, right? Is this that one, or is this this has happened a few times? Okay, let's move on. So we get it. Elon Musk believes in the great replacement theory.
Had called it a Hispanic invasion.
If I quote something, it doesn't mean I agree with anything.
And you, in that manifesto, when you say Hispanic invasion, is that not?
I didn't say an Hispanic invasion.
And you quoted a tweet that called it a Hispanic invasion?
If I quote something, it doesn't mean I agree with everything in it. It's just
When I reply to a tweet, you know, saying something with exclamation point, why is no one talking about this, looking into this, laughing, crying emoji, 100 arrow in the center of the target, you know, that doesn't mean I agree with it.
something that I think this is something worth people should consider.
Why would you quote something that you didn't believe?
Because anything I quote is going to have a whole range of statements. Doesn't mean I agree with everything in it.
This is what is actually happening, was what he said, by the way. Is that true? Was it that straightforward? Hold on.
Do you think if you moderated yourself more, if there was better content moderation on the platform, that you wouldn't have to answer these questions from reporters about the great replacement theory as it relates
I
to
don't have to
Democrats,
answer these
the
questions.
great replacement theory as it relates to Jewish people? Do you think that?
I don't have to answer questions from reporters. Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because
Yes, he does. Yeah, he did. That was like a big deal for a while, yeah.
you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So you don't think do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble, or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
I'm
or that
criticized
there-
constantly. I could care less.
You don't care.
No, I don't.
Why
care.
not?
I don't think people should care what the media thinks about them. They're terrible judges of character.
Literally, the only reason I agreed to do an interview with you is because I thought that it was going to be like a Twitter exclusive show. Outside of that, I don't do interviews with the media. He crumbles so easily. Sure, he cares less. He literally mainlines ketamine to keep afloat. Was he always this evil and dumb? I don't think he thinks he's evil. I just think he's stupid and really, really insecure. But he's probably always been this dumb. It's just, you know, he folds under pressure.
I'm going to show you. Well, that's not what the study shows. And you said you like transparency. I'm going to show you this. And
Don, you can get a study that will tell you whatever you want.
But these are just a handful of extremely. You look at those anti-Semitic, racist tropes and tweets, and as of this morning, they're still on X. And from your own content policy, these posts should have been deleted. So why haven't they been deleted? Why are they still there?
We delete things if they are illegal.
But these have been up there for a while.
Are they illegal?
They're not illegal, but they're hateful, and they can lead to violence. As I just read to you, the shooting.
I think it would be better for Don Lemon and for people in this position not to ask, like, hey, why haven't you taken it down? But rather to say, why do you think people will want to use your site if it's clogged with stuff like this? Like, there's a reason why social media sites have had a terms of service, and it's not just censorship. It's often because sometimes people do nothing but drag the entire site down with hateful content or with abusive messages. And if you don't do that, you're going to inevitably like, if your site is open to all ideas, that means you're essentially giving good and bad ideas the same platform to survive, and that's going to muddy the waters massively. Can you imagine if every forum ever had just turned into a big, like, neo-Nazi thread or whatever? I think there are ways to handle this that are better than just showing posts and saying, well, why haven't they been banned yet? Even if Twitter was good about maintaining a solid TOS and banning people who break it, which they aren't, of course, but even if they were, well, the TOS for Twitter, in practice, it seems, is don't disagree with Nazis or you'll get banned. But, you know, to that extent, they're quite consistent. You know, even if they were good about this, there would still be posts that slip through the cracks. It's really just a matter of the implicit endorsement from Donald Trump, or not Donald Trump, sorry. I guess from him too, but from Elon Musk. And Elon Musk does directly engage with a lot of that really far-right stuff. How much until there's a big downfall 4chan style? Well, I think in a lot of ways, Twitter right now is worse than 4chan. Because if nothing else, 4chan had different boards, and all of the boards that... First of all, 4chan is anonymous by default, which means that the potential for abuse is lowered, at least in that context. Thank you so much, Nunya. I really appreciate that. I'll go over donos soon. Second of all, there are boards that aren't B or, you know, R9K or whatever, and those boards tend to, not to say they're great or whatever, but they tend to, you know, dogpile people who act especially shitty on their side of things because they want to keep their own niche forums, you know? Twitter is like everything thrown together, and also a bunch of people have like professional accounts on there. And fewer porn spam bots, that's true, yeah.
Shooters, you know, in all of these mass shootings, attributed social media to radicalizing
So
them.
Don, you love censorship, is what you're saying.
No, I don't love.
Zero IQ, no thought response right there. If you say, hey, the preponderance of Nazism on your social media site is directly linked to so you like censorship, huh? Like, this is like a 4 IQ libertarian response to literally anything. Like, oh, you want to arrest people for murder? You want to put them in a prison? You want the state to arrest them?
Love censorship.
Then why are you asking?
I believe in moderation, but I don't believe in
censorship. Moderation is a propaganda word for censorship.
Bedtime is a propaganda word for authoritarianism. He's so you can see why libertarianism appeals to really stupid people, right? Because it requires no critical thought at all. It just anytime you dislike anything, you can just throw it in the box. Like, you don't have to engage with systemic analysis at all.
But don't you think free speech is one thing, right? Or not, you know.
Look, if something's illegal, we're going to take it down. If it's not illegal, then we're putting our thumb on the scale and we're being censors.
That's not how censorship works. Censorship is when you remove... First of all, in the colloquial sense, censorship is done by the state, you know? If you can't shout, like, you in class, in, like, school or whatever, it's not censorship if you go to the principal's office. That's just you broke decorum in that space. Censorship usually refers to state repression. Otherwise, like, not being able to talk loud on your phone in the theater is censorship because they're censoring your speech. It's stupid, right? But even if you ignore that and think like, okay, let's expand censorship to include like really big social media companies because they kind of run their own little government, don't they? And in a way they do, you know, in their own like limited fashion. What then is censorship? Well, do you think it's censorship that the United States government can have you arrested for harassment? You know, you can be taken away by the police if you, for example, belligerently shout down a person over and over in public. Like, that can lead to you being arrested. Is that censorship? Well, no. It's just that socially there are benefits to having people arrested if they are so willing to break decorum, you know, that they're perceived as a threat to the public good, the public commons. There isn't really like an easy line for where that should be. I think that harassment should be illegal to a point, but obviously not like to any point, right? I don't think, for example, saying you to someone should lead to you getting arrested, right? Like if a cashier has a rude customer and they're like, oh, off or what, like, I don't think they should be arrested for that. But like, what if you're on the bus and there's some guy screaming at you for like 40 minutes, you know, not death threats or anything, just screaming at you? Like, I don't know, there's got to be a line somewhere, right? Take it up with the judge, you know, well, you know, talk it out, sleep in a drunk tank for a day, I don't care, whatever. There's something to be done. So with that in mind, it's not really meaningfully censorship to get rid of stuff that's not necessarily illegal, but is nonetheless bad. One way that you know this, by the way, is that Elon Musk has been fastidiously banning people who dox stone toss because his docs leaked recently. You know, it turns out he was a Latinx queen, as you know, a pudgy one, and that isn't illegal necessarily. Saying the name of a person whose name has been outed is not illegal. That's not a crime. The police won't arrest you in America for doing that. And yet, nonetheless, Elon Musk is banning people for it, which means that Elon Musk is totally okay with banning people for stuff that isn't illegal as long as you're not a Nazi. That's it. That is censorship, because at that point, he's not enforcing a neutral anti-doxing policy. Instead, what he's doing is using it as a partisan wedge to ban non-Nazis and protect Nazis. That's it, really.
You're putting your thumb on the scale for moderating hate speech. I mean, you don't put out child pornography. That's not...
It's illegal.
Some people would say that's considered censorship. I'm just saying, you...
No, I literally... Don, you know, I literally said, if something is legal...
I think that's a bad example from Don Lemon. What about different laws in different countries? For example, a ton of the content on Twitter right now is illegal in Germany. Germany has laws against the... defense of the Nazi regime and stuff like that, you know? A lot of that content, if made by a German, would get them literally arrested. So does Elon obey that? Why does Elon not follow the laws put forward in the European Union? You know, the EU has their own rules when it comes to like the enabling of hate speech that Elon has persistently refused to engage with. Why, if so? What laws does he actually care about?
Okay, we will obviously remove it.
Okay.
But if it is not legal, if the laws in this country are put forward by the citizens, we're a democracy, if those laws are put in place by the people, we adhere to those laws.
Okay,
And we adhere to the
agree.
laws of others. If you go
He does follow them if it's about censoring people who are disliked by their authoritarian governments. Yep. Never forget, Elon Musk has agreed to almost every government censorship request given to him by authoritarian governments since he became the head of Twitter. Far more than the previous Twitter regime. If you're an authoritarian leader in a foreign country, you can just say, hey, Twitter, ban my political opponent, and 83% of the time, he'll agree. Yes, and Elon did unban Dom Lucre. Yeah, the guy who posted CP. Yeah.
go beyond the law, you're actually going beyond the will of the people.
Okay, agreed with the law. But if you are doing something that promotes hate and violence and ultimately leads to killing, you don't feel you have any responsibility not to do that?
I think ultimately Don Lemon really wasted this opportunity because he was pretty milquetoast and Elon got upset anyway, but he could have destroyed Elon if he brought up the government censorship requests. The fact that Elon like consistently agrees to them, you know? I think at the time Don Lemon didn't realize that Elon was so upset even by this that he was going to drop the project. Don Lemon thought this was going to be like a softball interview to kick off his Twitter exclusive show. Elon got upset even by this. He wasn't willing to like burn the bridge by being even remotely critical as a journalist.
When the people who are doing it admittedly are saying
there's articles all the time that lead to violence and killing. Don't they? Shouldn't they? Like you're applying a differential standard to.
But that would never be in mainstream media.
Why does Elon even agree to these interviews? He knows how stupid they make him look. He literally said in a clip that we've watched today that he only agreed to this because it was to promote a show that was going to be exclusive to Twitter. He doesn't want to talk to media otherwise because he knows he'll get cooked.
That it will take an airplane crashing and killing hundreds of people for them to change this crazy policy of DIE. I don't know if did you misspell it on purpose, which it should be DEI. Do you believe that women and minority pilots are inherently less intelligent and
Oh yeah, here's another one, which is pretty straightforward. A bunch of immigrants arriving in one day in Italy, and Elon responding, the Soros organization appears to want nothing less than destruction of Western civilization, which is just straightforwardly, the Jews are sending migrants to destroy the West. Like that is literally just the like indistinguishable from any like Stormfront Nazi. It's like, I know I keep saying it's indistinguishable. I just wanted to be clear that like conservatives typically operate under some pretense, some plausible deniability, some like layer of abstraction, but Elon just keeps doing the thing directly.
less skilled than white male pilots?
No, I'm just saying that we should not.
And minority pilots are inherently less intelligent and less skilled than white male pilots?
No, I'm just saying that we should not lower the standards for them.
Okay. But there's no evidence that standards are being lowered when it comes to the airline industry.
You've repeatedly said that there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, and watch the replies showing all the evidence that it is.
Replies, though, on social media or on Twitter are not necessarily fact and evidence.
No,
That's people's
they
opinion.
will cite the replies to this. You will see how often the information is cited, showing that indeed there are significant cases where standards are lowered.
And I do hope that.
Literally, like, there's no evidence to suggest that because Elon and his cohorts on Twitter, every time they see a black pilot for a while, do you remember that? Remember how we started getting all these plane troubles and conservatives were like, plane troubles must be because of black pilots because they're stupid. And then they, for weeks and weeks, they were like, all of these airline companies are lowering their standards, like they're letting black people on, they're letting black people fly, listen, I'm not racist, but, and then like, and then it turns out, actually, no, it's just that Boeing is building all of their planes out of cardboard. And then the discourse got dropped entirely. And Elon is like, well, the evidence is in the comments. There is no evidence whatsoever that any airline company has lowered their admission standards for pilots specifically to allow black people in. If they've lowered their standards generally, then I have no idea why race is being made an issue. You know, like why bring up race at all? There were a few weeks. Oh, here we go.
Yes. Hits so hard because we've all been in the back. And that's why I think...
Look, DEI in the cockpit on the Charlie Kirk show called Thought Crime with Jack Posobiec, the Nazi.
This United story and the DEI story hits so hard because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now. Thinking
No, I mean,
about
like,
that.
you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
So yeah, that was the conservative discourse for a few weeks there. Just very straightforward. Like, yeah, again, we are past the point of euphemism. We have emerged out the other side. We are fully just, yeah.
Well, that's the
you
game
wouldn't have
theory
done
I
that.
talked
You
about
wouldn't
earlier.
have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't
that's
have done
not
that
who I
before.
am. That's
No.
not what I believe.
It is the reality.
It's the reality. So, yeah. Anyway, that's conservative discourse. Yeah. There might not be any evidence of airline companies lowering their pilot standards to let black people in, but if you see the comment section under my tweets, Don Lemon, you would see a bunch of people Sieg Heiling, and does that not itself constitute evidence?
That happens. I do hope that happens, and I look forward to it. And as you said, if you're wrong, then you're wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay, so and I'm glad we're having this conversation debate.
Cuck move, Don Lemon. Pilot standards are FAA, not airlines. Oh shit, you're right. That's true. Yeah. They're done to government level. It's not an airline company can't even do that. Here's one with the black woman pilot. Oh, Lauren Witzka, again, is just a Nazi. As your silver-haired Maverick pilot retire, meet his new replacement. And it's a black woman pilot, and I guess it's like she's black. The pilot is doing nothing wrong in this clip. The only good part of Twitter is that getting the Twitter fact check here, this thingy, what's it called again? The community note. Yeah, it removes your ability to make any money from the tweet. So when Nazis like Lauren Witzka post this, knowing fully well it's going to get a bunch of anti-racist rage bait, looking to get a couple $1,000s off of it, it gets yoinked. 27K likes, by the way. In case you don't use Twitter that much, open neo-Nazi shit regularly gets the same amount of engagement or more as just regular normal politics Twitter. You know, like this is just, it's like split into thirds between conservative Twitter, left-ish Twitter, and Nazi Twitter, you know? This is literally just a normal video of a pilot. No, you don't understand. A white pilot wouldn't be shaking on takeoff, okay? Can we see the second tweet? Quote, I'm scared. What? She says landing gear, not I'm scared, as part of normal takeoff procedure. What? Does it sound like I'm scared?
D1.
Was that it? That didn't sound... Okay, whatever. Literally said landing gear. Yeah, I don't know. Like, Nazis have never needed a reason to hate black people before.
This is what we should be doing, debating the issue. So if
Right.
I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and then they'll be proven in the thing, and you as well. But I just want to tell you that pilot that you talked about, in fact, was a woman pilot, landed the plane safely, despite the major malfunction with the equipment. Boeing has taken responsibility for that incident, saying that it was caused by a faulty door panel. So I'm not sure what that had to do with lowering the standards for.
Again, in case you guys have forgotten, conservatives were literally saying, some of them, that the fact that a black woman was piloting was the reason why the plane door fell off. Like, a black woman pilot somehow affects the maintenance and construction of the airplane. This was like a large talking point. This was broadly discussed. This wasn't just like one weirdo. She hit the plane door drop button. She hit the ejector door. Yeah.
Pilots when it was a
No, it's
faulty.
not lowering standards for pilots. It's the incentive structure. I believe at Boeing changed to include DEI as
Yep. There he goes. Literally in the interview. In the interview. He's like, yeah, no, I'm not a racist. There's evidence of black plane magic happening somehow. I think Boeing, it turns out it was Boeing and not the pilots. Well, Boeing has black people at it, you know? Boeing doesn't certify pilots. No, it's literally just, they just want to blame black people. That's it. That's it. There's no, because what is he going to do except that Boeing, a gigantic tech company that manufactures vehicles, might be prioritizing profits over quality, and as a consequence of that are leading to people getting killed just a few weeks after that Chinese billionaire lady died in a Tesla. No, I don't know. This is one of the reasons why, you know, when communists say racism is often a product of class bias, this is what I'm talking about, you know? This is what I mean, where, you know, you can have your workers of all races unionize, or you can convince them that they need to fight among each other.
As a fundamental executive incentive. In my view, it should be purely about passenger safety.
Okay, but do you understand how by saying just that standards are being lowered, that you're implying that they're being lowered because people are less skilled and less intelligent, and you're talking about people of color and or women?
Don Lemon could roast him so hard here if he had the balls to. It's so disappointing that he didn't go harder. What DEI standards has Boeing put in? Don't you think it's irresponsible to say problems with their vehicles might be a product of those DEI standards if you don't even know what they are? Because he doesn't know what they are, obviously. He doesn't know anything. Like, any roasting would make him cry.
Look, I'm saying we should not lower standards.
But do you?
I don't think Don Lemon really put together an impressive performance with tough questions throughout the interview, personally. I think that even somebody as weak-willed as Don Lemon can make Elon Musk look like a idiot because he's that bad, like uniquely bad. I don't know if anybody else in this space is that bad with how quickly they could fold. Okay, how could I not? Wait, one more clip. Remember what I said about how the whole thing is kind of boring? This is what I mean. A lot of it, like, it's just spinelessness, you know? You should debate him. I would love to debate Elon Musk. I'm sure that's very easily in the cards, you know?
Doesn't the buck stop with you? I mean,
John, I have to say, choose your question carefully. There's 5 minutes left.
okay, but so
Is this the question you want to ask?
The same question is, you said that they are killing the company, but you're the head of the company. The buck doesn't stop with you?
The question here is, Don Lemon is basically asking, isn't it your fault that all these advertisers have left? Like, you complain about advertisers killing the company, but they had, like, they're leaving because of stuff you're doing, so...
I acquired X in order to preserve freedom of speech in America, the First Amendment. And I'm going to stick to that. And if that means making less money, so be it.
So I have to be, listen, I'm just being honest, right? I'm not trying to, like, get you or anything. I was
literally lying he was forced to buy Twitter. Yep. Remember, he did not buy Twitter willfully. He initially put up a bid and wanted to back out of it, but he was forced by the courts to continue with the purchase. He did not want to buy Twitter.
just surprised that you would blame other people for killing the company. I mean, when you say the buck stops with the president of the United States, regardless of what happens, right? So, why would that question upset you? You seem upset by it, are you?
I think.
Okay, maybe at this point Don Lemon realized that he that Elon was upset. You might as well commit to the bit at this point. Are you mad? Are you going to cry?
And I'm not trying to upset you.
Well, you are upsetting me because the way you're phrasing the questions, I think, is not cogent.
It's not what?
Not cogent.
Cogent.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's a smart person word, Don Lemon. You wouldn't understand.
If given a choice where an advertiser is saying, like, you have to censor all this content on the platform, irrespective of whether advertising appears, then our answer will be like, look, you can choose where you want your advertising, what you want your advertising to appear next to, but you can't insist on censorship of the entire platform. And if you insist on censorship of the entire platform, even where your advertising doesn't appear, then obviously we will not want them as an advertiser.
So what would you?
Yep, that is how it works. Advertisers don't want their stuff appearing right next to, like, Nazi content. That's true.
You say to advertisers who have left the platform or who are considering coming back or not coming back, what would you like to say to them?
Well, first of all, almost all of our advertisers are coming back.
This is so guys, if you are using Twitter right now, then you know how hilarious that statement is. Seriously, just use Twitter on your phone. Just scroll through Twitter. Take a look at the advertisers that are on there. It's hysterical.
So it's a very short list of advertisers who are not coming back to Twitter. And our advertising revenue is rising rapidly. And our subscription revenue is rising rapidly. And
I believe him.
I feel very optimistic about the future of the X platform.
Okay. Listen, honestly, I'm not meaning to offend you. You're an intense person. Where does that intensity come from?
I was born that way.
Takes big sip of Monster. Musk disagrees with Musk on advertisers. But this is 6 months ago that his ad revenue is down 50%. So I'm sure that in the 8 months ago, I'm sure in the 8 months since then, actually everything has turned around. You know, even though literally the only ads that I see at this point are drop shipping fake mobile game ads and the Liver King telling me that I can get swole too if I just eat livers, and it's community noted saying that he did a bunch of steroids every month.
And I had a tough childhood.
You did?
So, yeah.
Growing up on the mean streets of South Africa, you know? Nothing but hope in your heart and several $100,000 of emeralds in your pockets.
How so?
Right, Walter Isaacson goes into it in the book, and we only have a couple minutes left, so
All right.
too long to describe. So the one or two questions I can do, and then we'll have to call it.
Okay. Again, I don't mean to upset you. Why are you just...
No, I have a whole room full of people waiting to meet with me,
Okay.
so we're just going over time.
Okay. All right. I understand that. So
God, he's so awkward, dude. Holy shit. You should read about Elon's relationship with his dad. Oh, no, fully. People like this are usually a product of an uncaring father. Trump's the same way. Elon's dad literally, like, married his adopted daughter or something. Like, when he was, like, 50, he adopted, like, a 12-year-old girl, raised her to adulthood, and then married her or something like that. Yeah, here we go. A lovely Rolling Stones headline. Like father, like son, Elon Musk's dad has a secret second kid with stepdaughter. Just, you can take a second with that one. Kind of, sort of grooming, I don't know. I don't think it's kind of, sort of grooming. I think it's actually the most grooming you could possibly do. Like, this is like arch grooming. It's more grooming than anything else I could imagine. It's turbo grooming, you know? It's not just no, this is special grooming, okay? Grooming plus, yeah. Well, anyway. Elon Musk, everyone. Remember when Elon's dad made fun of Elon, saying he was rightfully pushed downstairs after mocking some kid's dad's suicide? No? Elon Musk made hurtful comment to fellow pupil who left him hospitalized, father says. That boy pushed Elon down a staircase at school, injuring him so badly he had to be hospitalized. This was his villain moment.